You. He specializes in motivating and training business owners, team leaders, and salespeople. He has over 20 years experience in direct sales and has been the top earner in 2 different sales organizations. Currently, he's a life coach and business consultant and is the president of Southwest Florida Speakers Toastmasters Club. And he's also the board president of the Center for Spiritual Living in Cape Coral, Florida. So everybody please give a warm welcome to Mr. RonFrost.
Thank you, Melissa. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2014. How many people here have actually set a New Year's resolution? How many people set a New Year's resolution the year before that was the same as the one you set this year? The reality is that around 45% of Americans actually set New Year's resolution. Do you know how many people actually achieve them? About 8%. So what does that tell us about a success ratio? We got 45% of people setting a resolution, a goal at the beginning of the year, and yet a very small amount actually ever achieve them. And so what I want to talk to you about tonight is not so much about goals, not so much about whether we should have them or we shouldn't have them. I mean, a lot has been talked about that. The power of goals, the power of committing putting action goals. But I want to come from a deeper, more meaningful place. And that is the essence of purpose. Matter of fact, I want to talk about the essential of connecting with your purpose, your passion, what truly moves you in life. I want to also talk about the sense of giving. How can we be a more giving presence to the world? Whether it's through the thing that we do, how can we uplift others? I want to talk about what can we release? What can we let go? What is holding us stagnant? What can we release that will allow us to move into our future and be more creative, more expressive, liberated? And last is what Melissa said, which was being happy in the moment. How can we enjoy our life more? So if we're going to live a fuller, freer, happier life, I truly believe we need to connect with those 4 elements. Now I want to take you on a little bit of a journey here. All right, we're going to play with your imagination, and I can share one thing with you. I know that by looking at all of you, I can tell that we have basically 2 things in common. One is we're both excited, right? Are we excited? Woohoo! All right, 2014. Woohoo! All right. So one thing is we're excited. The second thing is neither you or I know exactly what the heck I'm going to talk about. It's kind of one of those things with excitement; it just flows. So we're talking about purpose, we're talking about giving, we're talking about releasing from the past, we're also talking about being happy in the moment. And I want to start off with a little bit of a kind of a story about a soul, not a square part that you find from Billy, but a soul, and an angel. Alright? And it doesn't matter what religion you are. As many of you know, I'm a mixed breed. My mother was Catholic, my father was Protestant, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood and I married a Muslim. So for me, I get along with everybody. The reality is, when it comes to connecting, we can take these little stories and we can play with them. So let's just play along. There's a soul, and then there's a big, beautiful angel with these beautiful angel wings. And they meet together. And the angel comes over with a clipboard, getting ready to sit down and talk with his soul. And I don't know if every angel has a clipboard, but this one happens to have a clipboard. And the angel says, I have something I want to share with you. I have 4 things I have written down on this clipboard that are the most amazing things. You're going to journey into this time-space reality called planet Earth. It is absolutely wild. It is fantastic. It is one of the most joyous experiences. And you've been here before. You've had good lives. You've had bad lives. You've had times of extreme difficulty, and you've had times where things just worked out perfectly. And this time, I need to sit down with you and I need to talk to you before you go about these 4 things. So the angel looks and goes over each item and says, well, number one, you are going to be blessed financially. You're going to have more gifts, more wealth. You'll be a gazillionaire. Even though the word gazillionaire doesn't exist, you're going to create that. You're going to have unlimited resources. The more you give, the more you're going to receive. Number 2, you're going to be blessed with relationships. Everybody's going to love you. You're going to have the best spouse in the world. your kids, your family, the family you're born into, the 1,000 friends that you have, everybody's going to love you and they're going to respect you. You'll have wonderful relationships. And number 3, you're going to be blessed with health. You'll genetically resist every disease. And you're going to be able to have the stamina and the strength and the endurance to compete in any Olympic activity and get a gold medal. And you'll live clearly past 100 years. And then the soul says, well, that's 3. What's that 4th one? And the angel turns to the soul and says, that is a question. And the question is, what are you going to do to make the world a better place? If we come from our essence, we come from our purpose, we come from that sacred part of ourselves, how can we make the world a better place? In our own way. Now we can take a look at leaders, we can take a look at celebrities, we can take a look at grand lives, but we can live whatever way we want to. It is our essence, it is our purpose. And connecting with that purpose and taking the time to really see what thrills us, what lights us up. Many of us have come from a past, and that past is still with us. I know when I grew up, I wanted to be just like my dad. My dad was an engineer. I studied engineering, and I hated it. I was a person that wanted to get out into the real world. I wanted to be able to meet and consult with people and train with people. So you have to be able to let go of what it is that isn't necessarily working for you. Regardless of what your parents may have said, your high school guidance counselor, regardless of what maybe society in general pigeonholes us into. We are infinite creators. We can create anything that we want to in our life. We have the ability to be, do, and have whatever it is, and we need to be able to connect with that. And it is our passion. When we're living our passion, we are giving our gift to the world. Now, Steve Jobs says his description of success boils down to 4 words. And those 4 words are, do what you love. Doesn't it make sense? So we need to be able to give ourselves permission of that. So instead of going home and setting a bunch of goals, about maybe losing weight or quit smoking, let's go and put the question on the paper, on top of the paper, and say, how can I make the world a better place? How can I live my passion, my purpose? And start to define that. Because as we bring clarity to that, we invigorate our soul. We live happily and more joyfully. We're a fuller expression. And the world starts working for us. We all came here with a dream, and it's a matter of connecting with that dream. So you want to take the time in our busy lives to sit down quietly, to go somewhere where it's silent, and reflect on that question. It may not come to you tomorrow. It may take time, but as important as a life is by far better to take the time to actually sit down and articulate what your great vision is for your life. In what area of your life it may be in. Whether it's in finances, whether it's in your creative expression, your work, whether it's in relationships, whatever area it is, to actually write it down. And to write it down as if it's already happened and you're grateful for it. See, if we want to use the creative mechanism, we want to be able to express in such a way that we've already seen it, to write it down and to take the time to visualize it. Michael Phelps, when he was growing up, he had a very difficult time. He had an awkward childhood. Many of the kids bullied him, and he really kind of closed up. He got involved in swimming, as we all know. He got involved in swimming. But the most awesome thing is he got involved with a coach that pretty much saw the way things work through the creative mind. And he shared with Michael, he said, every moment that you are actually in the pool, you're going to swim and you're going to commit to the best that you can be. But I want you to, when you're outside the pool, be swimming and winning in your mind. I want you to take the time to write down exactly what it is that you want to achieve. Because when you write it down and you commit to the visualization, to seeing it, to being it, to be grateful for it happening, to see it happening now, you are starting to create. And Michael believed this. Now I'm sure the coach told others, But Michael actually put this into action continuously. And if you've ever read his book, it's a phenomenal book. He talks about this in his book. As time would go on, we would understand the success of this rising superstar, putting this action into place of seeing it, writing down, and committing to it. And in Beijing, when he won 8 gold medals, and he blew away the entire world, at 2 a.m., after the last medal was won, Bob Costas of NBC Sports sat down and gave a brief interview with only a few questions. And I don't know if anybody was staying up 2 a.m. and saw this, but I thought it was phenomenal. The first 3 questions were basic questions of how did you do this, and the amazing time trial against the French team. The last question, I believe, was the most important question at all. And Bob Costas asked Michael, and he says, "We have heard this rumor about this dream list that you have. These goals that you write and you keep with you and you guard them closely. And you've never shared them with the world before. Would you take the time right now while you're on camera and share exactly what you have on that dream list?" And the camera turned to Michael, and he just smiled, and he says, "Well, it was exactly what just happened. If you commit your goals, your dreams, and you start from your purpose, that bigger why do we exist? What is it that wakes us up in the morning? What thrives us? What is that thing that we're passionate about? How do we want to make a difference in the world? If we start to commit that to paper, and we start to see that as happening, and we start to be in gratitude and joy for it already being done, then we are planting the seed of creation." The other area is giving. To be able to truly express ourselves, as you give, so shall you receive. You know, any area that we're stagnant in, if it's love, we need to give more love. If it's finances, we need to give more of our money. We know that the principle of tithing works, and we know it works not only in personal lives, we see it in businesses. The 2 businesses that actually have been around for the longest time that have the principle of giving 10% to the community and to charities, whether you love them or you hate them, is Walmart and McDonald's. They developed this practice years ago, and they continue this practice. Whether it's in business or in personal life, it makes a phenomenal difference. When my wife Bonnie and I talked about this, we were like, how the heck are we ever going to even commit? We can barely pay our bills. In 10%, we have no idea where we're going to get it from. The moment we started doing this, with both our church and with charities that we love and we thought we could make a difference in, we took what's called the 30-day challenge, and we had to witness what was happening in our life. And things actually changed drastically. And this is the same thing that I share with my consulting and my coaching. Any of my franchisees that I work with, if this is an area, we sit down, we look at the profit and loss, we discuss basic business principles, but we also talk about the area of giving. We can give more. Even if it's just in a sense of listening to another person. Even if it's giving a compliment to some stranger that you see, that you want to be able to tell them something about them that you felt was uplifting or special. We can be a bigger presence and give more of ourselves. And the other area is releasing. There are things that we carry around with us that kind of hold us back. I guess we call those limiting beliefs. There may be things that, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. I'm not a good public speaker. I get nervous. We need to tell ourselves a different story. We need to reverse that. So anything that's holding us back, whether it's a fear, or it's a worry, or a doubt, we have 2 choices, basically. It's inevitable that time will keep moving forward. And so we end up having a choice of 2 fears. And it's the fear of that personal change, of releasing the things that hold us back, or it's the fear of an unrealized dream. And as time moves on, to take the choice of living the dream and making the change is what we all want to do. Now, sometimes emotional things are difficult to get over. Whether it's blame of something in the past, whether it's a difficult situation that you've been confronted with. But even those, the more that we can work on releasing, whether it's forgiving someone else, they did the best that they could do. The more we can release that past, the more we can be more present, and the more we can be more creative to the future that we want to create. And we can even do what's called not only emotional clearing, but we can clear physical objects. How many people have heard actually cleaning out your closet, cleaning out your garage? All right? That thing that should be on Craigslist or Goodwill or out of the street. By moving that, this is an activity quite often that is done around this time of year. By moving the items out of our life that no longer serve us, whether it's a limiting belief or whether it's a physical object, by letting it go, actually allows us to grow. It creates that vacuum in our life for something new. Even if it's a job that you want to be able to leave so you can create more in your life. It's all about releasing so we can move forward. And the last item is to live and to be happy in a moment. So many times when we're driven for success or goals or things that we don't have, or we're comparing ourselves to others, we feel that sense of lack. And it is the magic of being able to feel that joy now. Whether or not you have everything, it's to be able to feel the gratitude of what you do have. As we sit here and we realize we're in one of the wealthiest countries in the entire world, and many of us are driven in some way to succeed, to want to have more. And there's nothing wrong with that. We are in essence, a goal-finding creature, okay? But it is to also be happy in the moment and to enjoy the ride, to have pleasure in every single little thing around the goal, to take walks and to enjoy nature, to really connect. Because it is that feeling of joy, whether we're doing it for ourselves or whether we're expressing it and uplifting another, is that feeling of joy that allows us to make the world a better place. Now, as I wrap this up, I want to just share with you that I have a card on the table. And the card basically is a quick survey. Afterwards, you can give me some feedback, what you thought. And if you want to join our mailing list, there is a book that I'm working on that will be out April 15th. It's called Positive Momentum. It's talking about how do we move forward in life. Basically going over these principles and others. And I'd like to end with a story. A story that I think pretty much captivates this message of living from purpose, of giving of yourself, and living a grand and beautiful life. And it takes place back in history. It takes place back in 1863. In a cold November, in a Pennsylvania cemetery. And it was a moment where there was going to be several speakers of the day that were going to talk. And there was one person by the name of Edward Emmons. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Edward Emmons. He was at the time one of the most famous speakers on the planet. He was an orator, he was a preacher, he was a congressman. People would flock from all over the place to come and see this person speak. He was that good. And on that day, and that cold day in November in a Pennsylvania cemetery, he gave a 2-hour speech. And perhaps it was phenomenal. But not a word was remembered. Most of you, when I mentioned his name, I just got a blank stare. He's not mentioned in our history books. After he sat down, there was another gentleman that stood up and gave a 2-minute speech. And that speech was a 2-minute miracle. That speech captivated and motivated an audience. It touched the hearts of thousands of Americans in the United Nations. That speech was the Gettysburg Address, and that man was Abraham Lincoln. The real question is, what is your Gettysburg Address? What is the greatness that's in you that's seeking to express itself in life? What is that inner purpose, that passion that you can give to the world to make the world a better place? Live with your passion first. Come from that place. Refine it, know exactly what it is, let it resonate with your heart. Give yourself permission to live that. Because when you do, you're making the world a better place. Give of yourself, release any blocks that may hold you back, and live happy in the moment. Thank you.